Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 25th of September, now it's 10 to 11 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment. But before I start, let me inform you that yesterday I have had a live stream, fourth live stream on main YouTube channel, and if you didn't receive notification from YouTube, or if you are not subscribed to my Telegram page and did not know about live stream, you can see it on the main page on YouTube here. On my main page you can see here all four streams that I already did. When it comes to yesterday's live stream itself, it was a interesting conversation with in real time with members of our community. It was a very useful experience. Unfortunately, I missed quite a few questions during the live stream because I was, I guess, over concentrated on delivery of latest news that was reported by Russian media, and well, I have to deal with this issue, and that's why from next live stream, which will be on Wednesday, on this Wednesday, I will take questions firstly from donation alert from Buy Me Coffee and Patreon, because this way I would not miss any questions. It's impossible to miss because you can always check, but when it comes to real time and chat is moving too fast, and I'm not always able to read as fast and react as fast, so I apologize if I miss your question. With time, hopefully my skills will improve, but as I said, I will definitely first of all take answer on the questions or read the comments that I will receive through Patreon, through Buy Me Coffee or donation alerts that are operating during the live streams. That's been said, let's talk about news now. Yesterday's live stream was very successful in my opinion, because I did see several comments of members of our community, and they were kind in comments. And as I said, as time goes by, hopefully my skills will improve, and hopefully before end of October, in the beginning of October, I will start making interviews and inviting guests to our project. Let's see how it goes. But now let's talk about news. And first of all, I will share with you information about yet another drone and missile strikes that Russian armed forces conducted during the previous night. It was a massive drone and missile strike, and one of the main directions were Kryvyi Rog and Odessa region. And by the way, I did share on my Telegram these videos. For example, I cannot open these videos right now because of some restrictions on YouTube, but you can check these videos on my Telegram. This is strikes of Russian drones and attempts from Ukrainian forces to shut down Russian missiles and drones. It was a big strike, and what is very important in my understanding is that as a result of Russian night strike with missiles and drones on the military and logistics infrastructure of Zelensky's regime in Odessa region, the Odessa hotel near the sea terminal was destroyed. You can see this hotel, by the way, what is left of it. And this hotel, according to unconfirmed reports, housed the headquarters of the Ukrainian Navy and several dozen of mercenaries, foreign mercenaries. And there are some reports that in this hotel also was located, this hotel was also used by military advisors, let's say, of British Armed Forces and Secret Services that are basically actively participating in planning of Ukraine's maritime and drone operations. And if we take in account damage that was done to this hotel, I guess casualties among Ukrainian military personnel, among Western specialists, military and intelligence specialists and mercenaries was quite high. During the day probably we will learn some more information about these strikes, and of course I will report about it on my Telegram page and in the next updates. Now let's talk about some about situation on the sectors of the front line. So I will start with the Kherson direction. No significant changes during the previous 12 to 24 hours. It's usual stuff, artillery duels between the sides, constant fight for control over these small islands on the Dnieper River and delta of Dnieper River. And lately, as I mentioned in yesterday's update, quite regular airstrikes of Russian aerospace forces in the direction of concentrations of Ukrainian military personnel and military equipment. This morning I did share, for example, this video, by the way, about yet another strike in Kherson direction, and this significant increase in Russian airstrikes, in my understanding, definitely indicates that Kiev regime was planning mass crossing of the Dnieper River and basically opening the second front on this land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia, possibly simultaneously with the second wave of Ukrainian counteroffensive in Zaporozhye, South Donetsk sectors of the front line. But if we take into account intensity of Russian airstrikes, I guess Kiev regime will be forced to rethink its plans, because I guess losses among manpower and military equipment in Kherson region on part of Ukrainian armed forces are very high. Let's see how the situation develops, but at least for now, I will call situation still operational pause, because nothing is happening in the scale that will influence overall situation on this sector. When it comes to South Donetsk and Zaporozhye sectors of the frontline, main hotspots in Zaporozhye region still Orekhov bridgehead, and according to latest reports, unconfirmed reports by the way, Ukrainian forces did manage to enter northern western part of Verbova settlement. And if that's the case, then I guess battle for Verbova, this village, has begun, and I guess this fight gonna be even more difficult for and even more bloody for Ukrainian armed forces that battle for Rabotina, much smaller settlement in comparison to Verbova. And well, as time goes by, I guess chances that Russian forces eventually will attempt to encircle entire this grouping of forces of Ukrainian army in Orekhov bridgehead are increasing. I guess Russian forces will just wait when Ukrainian side will run out of steam, and then we will probably see activization of Russian military personnel in this area. And by the way, when it comes to first line of defense, as I mentioned yesterday, Ukrainian propaganda outlets and Western propaganda outlets are pushing this narrative that Ukrainian forces managed to breach first line of defense, which is false information. And this morning, by the way, I did share on my Telegram this video footage, for example. Yet again, I cannot open this video here, but you can check on my Telegram, and in that video you can clearly see that Ukrainian unit is trying to move on the fence in the close vicinity from first line of defense of Russian armed forces. I'm sure about geolocation of this incident because you can clearly see dragon's teeth in the video, and this unit is becoming under fire of Russian artillery, and almost the entire unit is neutralized straight away. If you will call that breaching the first line of defense, well, I don't know about that, but in my understanding, that particular, for example, operation was just a suicidal mission that was conducted on the first line of defense without achieving anything whatsoever. So I would not call that breaching of first line. And yet again, first line meant to slow down offensive forces, not to stop entirely, but to slow down. And after first line, there is second line of defense, there is third line of defense. So all this celebratory propaganda narrative of Kiev regime and Western masters of Kiev regime is just pure false propaganda. That's what it is, really. But overall, I will call situation on Orekhov, Bridgehead, and the entire Zaporozhye region of sector of the front line as operational post, because at this moment we did not see any significant activity from Ukrainian side. We did not see any significant activity from Russian side that will influence overall situation on this sector. It's local scale battles between the sides, artillery duels and recon operations, and of course drone wars, by the way, that goes all along the front line. Drones definitely are menace for all military personnel that are participating in this military operation. And when it comes to South Donetsk direction, no significant changes. Very same stuff is happening here: artillery duels, recon operations, and the drone strikes. Russian forces lately were quite active in Urozhaine direction on Vremyevsky Bridgehead. They even conducted some local scale offensive operations to improve their positions, and we also had reports that the Ukrainian side tried to retake some lost positions, but yet again we are talking about very local scale skirmishes, local scale battles with small units, no bigger than 1 or 2 platoons. So of course this level of fight cannot influence overall situation on this sector of the front line. And when it comes to Ugledar, main news basically is that Russian Air Force is very active in this direction and on daily basis are striking on points of concentration of Ukrainian armed forces and Ukrainian military equipment, not just around Ugledar but in the city itself also. And on my Telegram page you can see videos of that strikes. Also, overall, I will still call situation operational pause or deadlock. And as time goes by, probably less and less chances Ukrainian forces have to conduct this second wave of counteroffensive, if they even have such a plans, because weather from I did check forecast, and from 1st October weather will begin significantly change, and autumn will take its place with rains and so on. And by the way, Donetsk direction, main hotspots of course Marinka, Krasnogorovka, Avdiivka. They are local scale skirmishes, local scale battles, artillery duels, drone strikes, but nothing yet again on the scale that will influence overall situation. And this is the southern flank of Donetsk direction. Northern flank of Donetsk direction is Bakhmut and surrounding areas. And here we also have no significant changes on the southern flank of Bakhmut. I guess, as I said yesterday, after Klishevka and Andreevka end up in the gray zone, Ukrainian side made the decision to cease their offensive operations. And when it comes to northern flank of Bakhmut, yesterday many Russian telegram channels did report that Orekhovo, Vasilievka become under full Russian control. 106th motorized division, Russian division or airborne division, is in full control of this area, and they did confirm this information. But yet again, until we will have official statements about it, it's hard to call. But well, there were so many reports about Orekhovo Vasilievka that this settlement is under Russian control that me personally have no doubt that this information is correct. Many experts were expecting Ukrainian side's activity in the northern sector, northern flank of the Bakhmut, but in reality it seems like Russian forces are conducting offensive operations, and they even managed to establish control over Orekhovo Vasilievka. And when it comes to Seversk and northern sectors of the front line in general, it's a usual stuff: artillery duels, recon operations, drone wars. Nothing is happening that will influence overall situation. One question only remains in northern sectors: when Russian side will begin its large-scale offensive operation. And in a week or 2 weeks time, I guess this question will also disappear, because rainy season will begin, and I don't think Russian forces will receive a green light to conduct large-scale offensive during the rainy season, or Rasputitsa as we call it. And this is when it comes to a short summary of the situation on the battlefield. And before I share with you some additional news that was reported by Russian media, let me highlight, if I may, that this project with several channels, including this one on YouTube, Rumble and Telegram, exists solely thanks to support of members of our community. And I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, on which I do try regularly to upload some extra content. That's been said, let's talk about some other news now. And TASS news agency is reporting that during the early hours of the morning, Russian air defense systems did shut down 8 drones over the Crimea, Bryansk region and Kursk region of Russian Federation. No reports about significant damage on the ground or casualties. Also, TASS news agency is reporting that well, that's quite interesting news. I just said that on South Donetsk direction there is a local scale battles between the sides with small units, and TASS news agency is reporting about exactly occasion of exactly such a battle when 5 Russian soldiers were defending positions and 12 Ukrainian soldiers were attacking these positions. From these 5 Russian soldiers, 2 were wounded, and the commander of this unit take fire on himself. Basically, 2 other soldiers were securing flanks, and they did manage to hold on to positions and force Ukrainian unit to retreat after they receive casualties. Once again, by the way, I'm sharing with you this information to have a better understanding what I mean when I'm talking about local scale skirmishes. That's a prime example when two small units are up against each other and fighting for improvement of their positions in very local scale. And of course, such battles, local scale battles, cannot influence overall situation on the sectors, on any one sector of the front line. And that's why I use terminology like operational pause or a deadlock, because nothing is happening, when nothing is happening in the scale that can influence overall situation on this sector. Let me continue. RT is reporting, by the way, about yet another article in the Western media, which is critical of Ukrainian so-called counteroffensive and leadership, somewhat critical, let me say this way, and Kyiv regime. And now we are talking about Wall Street Journal, article in Wall Street Journal, according to which Russia's military has steadily adapted to changes on the battlefield in the fight with Ukraine, casting doubt on Kyiv's plans to win back areas controlled by Moscow, the Wall Street Journal reports. And once again, by the way, we are seeing time after time increased number of such articles that are somewhat critical of Kyiv regime and chances of Ukrainian armed forces to achieve any success on the battlefield. And in my understanding, this is not accident that so many articles lately are published with this attitude. I guess Western so-called elites are definitely preparing ground to distance themselves from failures of Ukrainian militaries and Kyiv regime when in time of their choosing, let's say this way. And well, I don't know when this will happen, in a week's time, in a month's time, or in the year's time, but Western so-called elites will definitely at some point distance themselves from Kyiv regime, and this will definitely happened before Poland and some other NATO member states that are bordering Western Ukraine will try to establish control over the western regions of this failed state. Let's continue now. And TASS news agency reports based on article in Forbes, by the way. And this time Forbes is writing about military situation on the front line in Ukraine, and this article was about losses of Swedish Strv 122 main battle tanks by Ukrainian forces. And according to Forbes, by the way, Swedish Strv 122s are best main battle tanks and most modern main battle tanks that Kyiv regime has and had in its inventory. And according to this report, 10 such tanks were delivered to Kyiv regime, and seems like 5 of them already have been knocked out, and 2 Strv 122s were knocked out yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, and or at least Forbes did write about it yesterday, and Russian media did pay attention to this article. And that's why, for example, yesterday's headline on my update was absolutely correct. Kyiv regime is running out of its Leopards, because Strv 122, by the way, is based on a Leopard 2 tank. It's just improved version, because it does has or supposed to have better protection, better armor than let's say Leopard 2 A6 tank. Although gun, according to this report of Forbes, gun on Strv 122 is slightly weaker than on Leopard 2s. Although members of our community yesterday did inform me that latest models of Leopard 2 tanks, Leopard 2 A7, for example, has as good protection as Strv, Swedish Strv 122. But well, main point is that Ukraine is losing its Western military equipment, And as this type of informations go viral, I guess Western so-called elites will have less and less desire to send new models of their weapons to this battlefield, because I don't think they want to see videos and photos of destroyed their military equipment. So at this point, I don't even know how many Leopard 2s the Kiev regime have left. There were so many videos of destroyed German tanks on the battlefields, and well, let's continue. And by the way, yesterday during the stream, I was asked about this story that RIA Novosti report about German Leopard 2 tank with the German crew. That was, according to this report, was current German military personnel. And well, I did not see continuation of this story, at least for now. This news was exclusive for RIA Novosti, and I guess only RIA Novosti has additional information, maybe even video footage of in confirmation of that story. But because the situation is very serious, because Russian scouts that destroyed that Leopard 2 tank were saying that one of the members of that crew, who eventually died because of the injuries, heavy injuries, because that German tanker did said that he's not mercenary, he is a current member of Bundeswehr or German armed forces. This is, by the way, can be interpreted, if it's true, can be interpreted by Russia as act of war, and it is act of war. There is no way around it, and well, Moscow is in a very difficult position. I did not see any comments from Russian officials about this story for this moment, because, well, how are you gonna react on act of war without provoking full-scale military clashes between the countries? And we definitely don't want further escalation of already broken relationships between Russia and Germany, or any NATO member state for that matter, isn't it? So I guess this story is true, but Moscow may decide to don't comment on it, just to avoid further escalation with NATO, because someone has to be adult in the room. By the way, we are seeing that Western so-called elites are acting not as adults, not as adequate people, for sure, and someone has to be adult and adequate, and this burden is on Moscow. So that's it, really. But when it comes to story itself, my understanding is that this story is correct. Otherwise, I don't think RIA Novosti, one of the major Russian news agencies, will publish such information without having at the hands, on its hands, some factual evidence to confirm that story. And by the way, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that U.S. Democratic Senator Mark Kelly did made statement about Ukrainian conflict, about risks of direct clashes between Russia and the NATO or NATO member states, and he said that in next several years, risk that Russia and US may end up in direct confrontation is quite high, which is, well, me personally, I will disagree with such a statement. I don't think Russia and US will end up in full-scale war, although I think there may be some local scale clashes between Russian and US military personnel in Syria, for example, or maybe even in Ukraine, when Poland, Romania, Hungary, Slovakia, and some other, with active support of some other NATO member states, including US, will try to establish full control over the western regions of this failed state. At that moment, because the white line between NATO forces and Russian forces will be somewhere on the border of rest of the Ukraine and western Ukraine, we may see some local scale skirmishes between the sides, between Russian forces and NATO military personnel, including US military, but I don't see, I don't think chances of full-scale conflict between Russia and the USA is high. No. Because we all know, and I guess militaries in the Western states, including US, do know perfectly well that full-scale confrontation between Russia and US or Russia and NATO will destroy the entire world. And there will be no winners in that war. Everyone will lose. So this understanding probably will keep hotheads in the Biden's administration to bay, let's say this way. But topic is relevant because risks of escalation do remain. Risks of escalation, maybe not necessarily full-scale war, but there can be other ways to escalate also. And by the way, let me continue. How long is this update? It's 31 minutes. I will just go through headlines as fast as I can. There is plenty of news left. So by the way, this morning, during the night and this morning, protests were continued in Yerevan, capital of Armenia. Citizens of Armenia and residents of Nagorno-Karabakh that flee region as a result of recent military activities of Azerbaijani forces. These people that are not happy with the Pashinyan's government and Pashinyan himself are conducting protests and demanding resignation of Pashinyan and his government. And police, Armenian police, according to latest reports, and this is not this is data from 1 hour or 1.5 hours ago, that 142 protesters were arrested in Yerevan. But before I start this live stream, I did check once again on telegrams, and numbers are significantly high now. More than 200 protesters were arrested in Yerevan, and I do understand frustration of residents of Karabakh. I do understand frustration of citizens of Armenia, but that are protesting this unwillingness to act on part of Pashinyan and his government. But I'm afraid they have no chance really to remove Pashinyan, to force Pashinyan to resign. It's not happening, by the way. As I said quite a few times before, US has its biggest embassy in Armenia, biggest in the world, by the way, embassy in Armenia, with dozens and dozens of officers of secret services, mercenaries, and so on and so on. And these guys, by the way, are in full control of current government of Armenia. And if Pashinyan will even decide to resign, I don't think he will receive permission from US. I don't think he will be able to resign. And what else? What can citizens of Armenia can do in that case? They cannot forcefully remove Pashinyan from power, isn't it? So this battle, unfortunately for Armenia and Armenian citizens, this battle for Nagorno-Karabakh and even for Armenia proper have been lost by Armenian society. And now Armenia is just a colony, just a regular colony of Washington. That's it. And it will stay this way, I'm afraid, for at least a decade or two. Yet again, if Pashinyan and pro-Western elements will remain in power, which is highly likely. But anyway, let's continue. TASS news agencies reporting that Russian peacekeepers continue to provide security and cover for residents of Nagorno-Karabakh that are fleeing this region in direction of Armenia. Thousands and thousands of residents of Nagorno-Karabakh already did flee region. And by the way, here, for example, we have a Reuters report about which RT is writing also that in the end about 120 Armenians may flee Nagorno-Karabakh because they cannot live under rule of Baku. So it's a tragedy, by the way. It's a tragedy of Armenian society, what is going on in Nagorno-Karabakh. But yet again, current leadership of Armenia, Prime Minister of Armenia, Pashinyan, did nothing, did absolutely nothing to save Nagorno-Karabakh. And by the way, some may think that Armenia now will, once it gets rid of Nagorno-Karabakh issue, will join NATO and EU, and whoever thinks this way is mistaken, because Azerbaijan, I don't think Azerbaijan will stop. In my understanding, Azerbaijan will try to establish a land bridge from Azerbaijan proper towards Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic. This is Southern Caucasus region, by the way. This is Azerbaijan, this is Armenia here, and this part here is also Azerbaijan. It's called Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic, and right now Azerbaijan has no land bridge with this autonomy, and there are some risks, in my understanding, that Azerbaijan will try to establish land bridge with Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic, and in that case Azerbaijan and Armenia yet again will end up in the direct conflict. Armenia will have some territorial issues of territorial integrity, and as we all know, NATO cannot receive new member if that member has territorial issues, or if that country is in a military conflict, frozen or active with any other country. So everyone who thinks that Armenia in fairly short time will join NATO and the EU are very mistaken, by the way, very mistaken. But let's continue. Well, RIA Novosti is reporting that Borrell, formal head of EU diplomacy, Joseph Borrell, did make statements with criticism of southern, global south, let me say this way, states of Southeast Asia, and this criticism is coming because from Borrell and the EU, basically because of unwillingness of these states in the global south to destroy their relationships with Russia. It seems like these so-called Western elites still not realizing that they don't really rule this world. They have difficulties to understand that they are just local scale, some puppets of true rulers of the Western world, and they are just local scale, figures, not the global ones, because no one cares about Borrell, man. Who the hell is Borrell? I mean, honestly, who is this creature? Who cares what Borrell has to say, man? Really. or Ursula von der Crazy, or whatever whatever name she has. You know, these individuals did not realize that they are not rulers of this world. They are not global figures that everyone listens to. They are just not. You know, they are irrelevant in the global scale. They are just irrelevant. Some clowns. That's it. And I'm quite sure states in the global south are gonna laugh at him, because I mean, who the hell is he, though? Really. Can you imagine the reaction of India, by the way? India has one of the greatest foreign ministers, and I would like to see debates between India's foreign minister and these so-called leaders of the Western world, man. India's foreign minister will destroy them, all of them, man, yeah, in discussions. And well, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that well, foreign ministry of Poland did blame Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, of involving in internal affairs of Poland. Well, relationships are deteriorating, not just between Poland and Ukraine lately, but between Poland and Germany also, and for a long time now. For a long time, really. And nowadays, two sides have some diplomatic row, because German's chancellor and some other politicians were concerned about informations that some Polish officials were selling visas, and then immigrants were coming to Poland, and after that they were entering Germany and some other Western European states. And well, I can understand Berlin, by the way, why they are mad about this information. I can clearly see reasoning behind this. They are not always unreasonable, by the way. When they say something understandable, we should admit that. And in this case, I mean, of course, Germany not gonna be happy if some EU member state is selling its visas, or if officials of some EU member states are basically doing business with visas, and hundreds and thousands of immigrants are coming to Poland and using Poland basically as a transit state to enter Western Europe, Germany included, because they already have on their hands significant issue with refugees. And when European economies, including Western European economies and German economies, by the way, are struggling, of course, this additional pressure that comes with waves of refugees is somewhat unbearable. Those economies just cannot withstand such a pressure, and at some point they may just break down. And the governments do understand that and they are reacting, but well, still Poland not gonna, you know, not gonna allow Germany, especially, its criticism because of their quite difficult relationships, even if Polish elites do know perfectly well that, well, Germany has some points there. And they are criticizing now Scholz, criticizing Germany's government, and reminding Germany that they own Poland. And if you remember, by the way, Poland is demanding something like €1 trillion from Germany as a compensation for damage that was done during the Second World War. So relationships between these countries are far to being great, let's say this way. And well, let's continue. I will monitor this diplomatic row, and if any interesting updates, of course, I will share. I will report about it. And by the way, this update is too long. I have to end it. I have to end it, but or just headlines. So TASS news agency is reporting that President of Serbia, Aleksandar Vučić, did make statement yesterday late afternoon on a press conference that Kosovo police did kill the 3 Serbs and the 2 Serbs were wounded as a result of provocation. And situation between Serbia and Kosovo, and by the way, Kosovo is a part of Serbia. It's just controlled by NATO and local separatist movement. And well, I guess Western there is high risk that Western so-called elites may conduct yet another push on Serbia, and they may use Kosovo as a trigger to destabilize Serbia, and maybe even provoke or conduct some regime change, just to establish full control over this state, because I guess Brussels and the so-called Western elites are tired with the constant fight of Serbia for its independence and its interests. Let's continue. Andriy Novosti is reporting that well, yesterday when this crisis was unleashing in Kosovo between Belgrade and Pristina, one of the hotheads in the EU began to make some crazy statements, and we have an example here. Chairman of one of the NGOs, I guess this is some significant NGO in Europe, which is about enlargement of NATO. Someone on the name of Günther Fellinger did made statement, and basically call NATO to begin bombings of Belgrade and Serbia. So you tell me how crazy these so-called Western elites really are, and their puppets, like this Günther, whoever, that was calling to bomb Belgrade straight away, without even learning what is going on. But anyway, let's continue. Interfax is reporting, by the way, that France did make decision to withdraw its forces from Niger before end of this year. This was stated by President of France, Emmanuel Macron, and he also stated that entire staff of France embassy in Niger will be withdrawn, will leave Niger in a fairly short time. This is very some development, because usually when diplomatic ties are completely broken down between the sides and when embassies are evacuated, this is a sign of possible military intervention. And well, let's hope Macron and his government will act cautiously, adequately, and will not provoke conflict with Niger, because in that case entire West Africa may end up may be engulfed in this fire. And by the way, we also have information that Niger's current government shut down its skies, its air for French airplanes. Yet again, relationships between the countries are deteriorating day by day. And also TASS news agency is reporting that Tucker Carlson, world-famous journalist, did give an interview to Swiss Dear Well-Watch magazine, and during this interview he did said that government of US did not allow him, block him basically, to conduct interview with President of Russia Vladimir Putin, which is once again demonstrates real attitude of the so-called Western elites towards freedom of speech, basic human rights, democracy, and so on, free press, and so on. It's they use these topics as a weapon, and that's it. They don't really care about any of it, absolutely. And well, this story that happened with Tucker Carlson just confirms exactly that. Also, RT is reporting that Canadian Parliament Speaker regrets honoring Ukrainian Notsee SS veteran. I did share on my Telegram channel this video, by the way, this disturbing video where entire Parliament of Canada, maybe with some exceptions, I hope there were some adequate people that did not applaud to this Nazi mass murderer. But there was video that I did share on my Telegram page that when Zelensky was visiting Canada and had meeting with Trudeau, he was, I guess, in a chamber of Parliament of Canada, and everyone was clapping and, you know, acting like they are best friends of Zelensky and so on. And in that chamber also was presented this this Nazi, Ukro-Nazi SS veteran, who was a fighter of, if I'm not mistaken, SS unit of Galiciana during the Second World War. That was a Ukrainian division of Galiciana, and that division, SS division, by the way, one of the bloodiest divisions in SS, one of the most murderous divisions, were filled with Ukrainian Nazis. And this parliament and Zelensky himself and Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, they did begin applaud to this Nazi and honor this Nazi, by the way. It's a very disturbing video. And now they are saying, by the way, this individual, this Speaker of Canadian Parliament, says that it's his fault and he did not knew what the hell is going on. But in reality, do we believe in this? Of course not. Of course they knew who this Nazi was. But that's the level of degradation of, I guess, Western elites in general, and in this case, so-called elites of Canada. But they have no morality, they have no principles. They hardly can be called even, I don't know, man. They are just disgusting human beings. Let me say it this way. Shame of Canada. That's what I will say. How you gonna honor Nazi mass murderer, man? I mean, how much degraded someone have to be to applaud Nazi mass murderer? It's just unbelievable, man. Level of degradation of the so-called Western elites is just unimaginable, though. And few more topics. If you want to see that video, by the way, you can check my Telegram page and you will find it. And let's continue. RT is reporting that Russian oil major ditching dollar in trade. Well, Russian oil producer Gazprom Neft basically is selling almost all its oil now in national currencies in trade with foreign states. One more step towards de-dollarization, or one more reason why this process of de-dollarization is unstoppable. And Gazprom Neft is a big player, by the way, on energy market, and this company is not only one. Entire world is moving away as much as possible from dollar and euro for very understandable reasons, because EU and US are using, authorities of EU and US are using their currencies as a weapon against countries that they don't like. And also, by the way, RT is reporting that Russian LNG shipments to China surged once again, and supplies jumped by 60% from January to August in annual terms. This is customs data, by the way. Well, good news for Russian energy sector and for Russia and for China also, by the way, of course. well, if Western so-called elites were dreaming that Russian energy sector gonna collapse because of the sanctions, well, they have on daily basis more and more reasons to realize that they were very much mistaken. And by the way, one more news: in US, capsule has landed with the grunt of asteroid Bennu. Little bit of science, and well, NASA did conducted mission towards one of the asteroids, this Bennu, and this spacecraft was launched in 2006 towards this asteroid, and it did reach asteroid in 2018, and during the 2 years it was conducting some scientific studies, and well, it did manage to take some samples of grunt of that asteroid, and went back to our planet, and now scientists will have some additional understanding how our solar system was created. Well, anything, any success in scientific field is good, so I congratulate NASA and all the scientists. I guess it was international group that was working on this mission, so my congratulations to all of them. And this is it, by the way. This is it for now. Quite long update, but plenty of news, and hopefully you will find this video interesting. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like, just about anything, because more likes and comments my videos will have probably more chances I get to reach wider audience, because YouTube's algorithm will probably acknowledge interest of public. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. And finally, if you think this channel, this project is interesting, useful, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and nice, wonderful new week, and take care. See you soon.